Republicans unveil bank records alleging that the Biden family was engaged in massive corruption. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. After winning a majority in the House last year, Republicans vowed to investigate President Biden and his family's business dealings. But what they found certainly doesn't look good for Biden or his family. When Joe Biden was vice president and after, the Biden family received over $10 million in payments, largely from foreign entities, and they hid it through a complex network of companies. James Comer, chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, says this shows foreign entities were buying influence with the Biden family. The committee released a series of uncovered bank statements that they claim prove it. And Comer says his ultimate goal is to investigate Joe Biden himself.
I want to be clear. This committee is investigating President Biden and his family's shady business deals that capitalize on Joe Biden's public office and risked our country's national security.
Of course, most major corporate media barely talked about the story. And if they did, it was to say the report finds no evidence of wrongdoing by Joe Biden. Oddly, a lot of these same media also chose to downplay, dismiss, or ignore the Hunter Biden laptop story. So let's cut through the partisanship. What did the House committee actually find? In the course of two memorandums, one that came out in March and a recent one that goes into more detail, they paint a picture of a shady network of shell companies bringing in huge sums of money from foreign sources to the Biden family. Hunter Biden is, of course, at the center of a lot of it. We already know the DOJ has been investigating him over his business dealings with shady entities from Ukraine, China, Kazakhstan, Romania, and others. One of those shady entities was State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese company associated with Ye Jianming. Ye is a Chinese businessman with a background in Chinese military intelligence who has used his company, CEFC, to promote Chinese national interests. Definitely not a questionable character. The first memo back in March focused on John Robinson Walker, a Biden family associate, and his company, Robinson Walker LLC. Most of what was reported is already public knowledge, but Republicans drew attention to the money trail. The memo pointed out how Robinson Walker LLC received a $3 million wire from State Energy HK Limited in March 2017, less than 2 months after Vice President Joe Biden left public office. Shortly thereafter, Robinson Walker LLC sent $1 million to European Energy and Infrastructure Group, a company associated with James Gilliar, another Hunter Biden business partner. Then, over a 3-month period, $1 million went to various accounts connected to the Biden family, including Biden's daughter-in-law, Haley, Biden's younger brother, James, Biden's son, Hunter, and an unknown account simply labeled as Biden. Now, some have insinuated that the unknown Biden refers to Joe Biden, but that's never been confirmed. And while Hunter's ties with State Energy HK Limited are definitely questionable, there's no evidence of anything illegal. So, Comer dug deeper. The committee issued subpoenas to obtain bank records and information about suspicious activity reports associated with individual transactions. What did the committee find? I'll tell you after the break. Welcome back. Comer claimed that the release of the Biden family bank records would be Judgment Day for the Biden White House. Republicans are also calling it a smoking gun, while Biden's White House calls it a political stunt. Now, Comer talks big about the bank report information in the most recent memo. He says that the transactions connected to the Bidens are like that of an organized crime unit, as complicated as possible to deceive the IRS. Comer also accuses the businesses connected to the Bidens of being shell companies, set up to launder money from foreign nationals into the Biden family's back pocket. How complicated is the Biden business network? According to the report, Biden's family members and business associates created a web of over 20 companies. Most were limited liability companies formed during Joe Biden's vice presidency.
Here's an example of what I mean. You have Rosemont Seneca Partners, Rosemont Seneca Advisors, Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners, RSP Holdings, RSTP2 Alpha, RSTP2 Bravo, Rosemont Seneca Thornton, Rosemont Seneca Bohai. I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Bohai, Bohai. And the list goes on and on. Cycling through this many companies serves no legitimate purpose. And as somebody who actually worked in banking, I did that long before I came here. Whenever there was like this many companies just laying all over the place, and you see wire transfers and cashier checks over here going to random members of the family for no apparent purpose at the size and velocity at which all of this was being conducted, the only logical conclusion of a financial professional is you are concealing money.
And here I just bury my money in a hole like a schmuck. All in all, Comer says that at least 9 Biden family members received payments from this web of companies. Aside from Haley, James, Hunter, and the unknown Biden, there's also James Biden's wife, Sarah, Hunter's ex-wife, Kathleen Buell, Hunter's current wife, Melissa Cohen, 2 nieces or nephews, and a grandchild. The report goes on to say that bank records show the Biden family, their business associates, and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals' companies while Biden was vice president and after he left office. The committee collected more than 150 suspicious activity reports, or SARs. Banks are required to make those reports and give them to the government when they see suspicious payments, but they aren't proof of misconduct in of themselves. In the most recent memorandum, 2 groups of transactions were highlighted, one from Romania, the other China. It specifically cites the Romanian transactions as evidence of influence peddling and tries to link them to Biden's responsibilities as vice president of the U.S. Hunter Biden's work in Romania raised questions since 2019. Information at the time showed that Hunter assisted a Romanian real estate tycoon who was arrested and accused of corruption. We now know that his company, Bladden Enterprise Limited, paid Robinson Walker LLC $3 million between November of 2015 and May of 2017. Just like with the money from State Energy HK Limited, Walker wired around $1 million to the Biden family's accounts. Most of these were paid during Biden's time in office, between 2015 and 2017. It also happened after Vice President Biden made a speech about Romanian corruption. The second group that the committee got bank details from is another Chinese company called CEFC, the company founded by none other than Ye Jianming. The report lays out how money made it from China to several different Bidens through various intermediary companies. I won't bog you down too much with the details, but just know that bank records between August 2017 and October 2018 show that over $4 million of Chinese money ended up going to Hunter Biden-related companies, and over $75,000 went to James Biden-related companies. So what do all of these findings mean? I'll tell you after the break. Welcome back. Some on the right call this explosive new evidence of the Biden family's breathtaking corruption. Some even call the payments bribes. But is that really the case? Well, I know this will disappoint some of you watching, but the money trail itself isn't actually proof of bribery. In fact, the memo is very careful not to accuse any of the Bidens of specific crimes. It also never claims the money influenced Joe Biden's actions. And now, to disappoint the other half of you watching. There's a big push in the media to emphasize that there is no incriminating evidence on Joe Biden. Democratic ranking member of the Committee on Oversight and Accountability, James Raskin, says that Comer continues to bombard the public with innuendo, misrepresentations, and outright lies, recycling baseless claims from stories that were debunked years ago. Stories that were debunked years ago, like the Hunter Biden laptop story? These findings can't just be dismissed. Hunter's deals were certainly questionable. They are worth looking into deeper, and this report gives new information about who was given what and how much. And some of it is pretty weird. Why, for example, is a school teacher like Haley Biden receiving funds through Hunter's business partner? It's not really the most orthodox way of giving family members money. The memos also show that the Bidens aren't really that transparent. Hunter said he wasn't in a joint venture with CEFC, nor partnered with or funded by it. But bank records show his company received $100,000 from CEFC in 2004. Hunter wanted to keep his distance from CEFC because it was under scrutiny, but well, truth is sometimes awkward. Joe Biden, meanwhile, said his family did not receive money from China more than once. He said it in remarks on the South Lawn of the White House, and he said it in a debate with Donald Trump.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
But that's a lie, too. Even the left-leaning New York Times says so. Well, they don't call it a lie, just several false or misleading statements. That's why Comer wants to keep digging, which he should. These are serious allegations. Comer issued a legally binding subpoena demanding the FBI produce a file Comer says will prove Joe Biden took bribes. But the FBI refused. They said it was because of unverified and incomplete information. Fancy that. I mean, it's not like intelligence agencies or the media would try to cover for the Biden family. That would never happen. Comer says this isn't over.
We believe that the president has been involved in this from the very beginning, obviously. We're going to continue to look. There are, what we've cited today and what we're updating you with today, 4 banks. Those result from 4 banks. We believe there are 12 banks.
But here's something I want to point out. On this show, we try to be nonpartisan, not because we don't want to offend people or are fence sitters, but because we only care about the truth. And I know, if it had come out that the Trump family had been getting $10 million from foreign sources while Trump was president, this story would be getting very different media coverage. For years, Russia collusion was shoved down our throats, even though in the end there was no evidence for it. And now we're getting this story about Biden and his family. And I know there are people who really, really want it to be true. Like James Comer, who is clearly looking for evidence to support his pre-existing belief, which is actually the opposite of how it's supposed to be done. Will they find evidence of actual corruption? Or is this just the Republican version of Russia collusion? However it shakes out, we'll do our best to make sure that America gets uncovered. Thanks for watching, and remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. If you want to help us deliver truthful news, all it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/America Uncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.